While the 2022-2023 football season officially ends today on Super Bowl Sunday, for many sports betting fans, college hoops in February and March is one of the most exciting times in sports. Whether you love college hoops or just want to pad your bankroll heading into March Madness, we have the perfect special. Starting today, get the rest of February with any WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper for only $149 each. So to finish off February for as little as $9 per day, head over to your favorite WagerTalk and or Sports Memo handicappers page and grab this limited time offer. This offer includes not only college basketball, but also any NBA, NHL, UFC, soccer, golf, and NASCAR that your favorite WagerTalk and or Sports Memo expert handicaps. No coupon is needed. The earlier you sign up, the more days you get.
Welcome, college basketball happy hour tip-off show for Friday, February the 24th. As we get closer to a huge Saturday college basketball card, you are watching WagerTalk TV, of course, here on YouTube, and don't forget about the WagerTalk TV app, which you can download for your favorite mobile device. I am Steve Merrill, filling in for Joe Ranieri today on Friday. I'm joined by Tony Mejia from WagerTalk.com, and Tony, it's a very special 2-for-1 special Friday episode. You and I are going to go head-to-head here on 3 spotlight games, and since we'll have a little extra time, maybe look at some of the huge Saturday matchups as well for tomorrow. Tony, welcome to the show. NBA restarted last night after the All-Star break. College hoops in full swing. March Madness right around the corner. What you got going on at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, I prefer to think of it as a collaboration rather than going head-to-head, brother. And yeah, it started, the NBA return started off wonderfully, went 5-2-1, only dropped the first quarter of the Sacramento Kings Portland Trail Blazers game because the Blazers came out in a zone. Kings looked like they were
jinxed us. Said head-to-head.
The Lakers as a 3%
He's
winner.
Back.
Hit my 5% winner in college hoops last night. So it was a heck of a night, and looking forward to keeping it up today, both college and hoops and NBA. So far, no college hoops package. Just dotting my I's and crossing my T's on that. But I'll have one up for sure. And there's a 4% package, NBA-led package up already. So, yeah, man, it's going to be a busy weekend. We got a last call tomorrow. I'll be on that. And it's the nitty-gritty now with regular season, the college basketball ending, and March Madness just around the corner.
Yeah, Tony, thank you for reminding me about last call. I'll be on that tomorrow as well. I forgot to promote that. I was going to mention that we'll have the NBA show at 4:15 Eastern today on Friday. Some more NBA talk on that show. But yeah, last call. It's a Saturday show at 11 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Pacific. Been doing it for a few weeks now, and it's basically a quick hitter, 3 or 4 cappers. We also have it on Thursday night here around 6 o'clock Eastern. And, of course, if you miss it live, never a problem. Everything is archived 24/7 right here on WagerTalk TV. But it's another great reason to hit subscribe and hit that bell for instant alerts so you'll know when these new shows go live. I'll also have my college basketball top 25 video up later this evening on Friday heading into Saturday. Once again, hit subscribe, hit the bell for some weekend content here on WagerTalk TV. By the way, Tony, I am passing the college hoops, and I'm going to look at some games with you here on the show, but I do have 2 strong NBA best bets, so I really think it's a nice card in the NBA tonight on Friday at WagerTalk.com. But let's dive into what's probably maybe the biggest game on the card tonight, one of the bigger games, and that is at 7 o'clock Eastern, Xavier at Seton Hall. And Xavier opened as a 1-point road favorite. It's now up to 1.5 in most spots. Total also bumped a little higher from 141 up to now 142. So, Tony, we've got Xavier as a slight road favorite, but basically a pick-the-winner situation here at Seton Hall. Who do you think is going to win this game tonight?
Well, I mean, look, Xavier's without Zach Fremantle and has been for a while. He's close to returning from that foot injury, but he'll be out tonight. And Xavier's a completely different team without him. I mean, for the season, they're shooting nearly 50% from the field. That's 4th in the country. 39% from 3. That's 5th. But Sean Miller's offense has really missed him. I mean, he's lights out around the basket. And Seton Hall is going to be without Kadari Richmond, who hurt his back in their previous game, and he had scored in double figures in 8 straight. So both teams shorthanded. This is going to be very interesting because Seton Hall is probably on the outside looking in for sure, and Xavier needs to start picking it up entering March. So very interesting game. I would think the Hall missed 9 of 23 free throws in that first meeting and lost 73-70 at the Cintas Center. So they're probably feeling pretty good about their chances of pulling off an upset even without Richmond, one of the top defensive ratings in the Big East. But they have lost 3 or 4, and certainly missing one of the more reliable scorers isn't going to make life easy for them even at home.
Yeah, and this is, I believe, the only ranked team playing tonight. It's number 16 ranked Xavier. And, we've had a situation this year that Brian Powers talked a lot about. Joe Ranieri and I mentioned it as well, and that's unranked home favorites against a ranked road team. It's hit over 70% this season. Now, Seton Hall obviously does not technically qualify in this as they opened as a 1-point dog. It's now up to plus 1.5, but keep an eye on it. It's still pretty close to that situation. And I think on the surface, Xavier will probably be a pretty public side tonight, being the number 16 ranked team in the nation in the AP and laying just a 1.5. As Tony mentioned, these teams did play earlier this year, back in December last year, I guess, technically 2022, but it was this season. And Xavier squeaked out a 73-70 win as an 8-point favorite, and they were only up by 3 at the half. Seton Hall played them dead even in the second half. Both teams are terrible from 3-point range in that game, a combined 9 for 37, just around 24%. And they still got to 143, finished a half a point under the total. So I'll lean over in this one. I think there's some value. This total is actually a couple of points lower, about a point lower than the first meeting. The teams hit 143 and shot awful from 3-point range. So maybe a little bit of a lean to the over. And we have seen that line bump about a point higher. So I think there's a little bit of sharp money on the over between Xavier and Seton Hall. Once again, that game goes at 7 Eastern tonight on Fox Sports 1 in Newark, New Jersey. All right, let's look at another game here for Friday night in college hoops. And this time we're going to go to a 9 o'clock Eastern game. And this is actually the biggest national TV game tonight. There's only 2 games on ESPN2 national TV, and this one's at 9 Eastern. South Alabama at Louisiana. Those who have been doing this for a while, like me and Tony Mejia, know it's Louisiana Lafayette, UL Lafayette, but I guess they're technically Louisiana now. They're the entire state. And the Raging Cajuns are at home in this one in the Cajun Dome at 9 o'clock Eastern. And Tony, the UL Lafayette, Louisiana Raging Cajuns, whatever you want to call them, open 4.5, currently 4 to 4.5. We've seen it drop a little bit, but not too much movement on the side. Total has moved a bit in this one. Opened 143.5. It's now up to 146.5. So we've seen nearly a 3-point move to the over. Not much movement on the side. Which way are you looking in this one?
Well, you mentioned the Cajun Dome, and Louisiana is 13-0 there straight up this season. So that's a big deal. South Alabama is also only 4-9 on the road. And this is going to be an interesting matchup because the first one, Louisiana won 79-76. They rallied in the second half. South Alabama played really well. Shot 9 for 20 from 3, had 5 double-digit scores, but they couldn't stop Jordan Brown. And Jordan Brown, really the key to what the Raging Cajuns do. And he had 23, 8, and 6. They played through him. He had rebounds. But in that game, Kevin Samuel, who started a bunch of games for TCU and is now at South Alabama playing for the Jaguars, did not play. He'll be out there tonight. These are 2 6'11" guys. So this is going to be, I think, the key matchup in that contest. Louisiana was the preseason favorite in the Sun Belt. They're not going to win the league title. You've got right now, who is it? Southern Miss is in the driver's seat alongside I forget who, but it's going to be one of those two, and Louisiana's probably going to get a lot of sharp money in the Sun Belt tournament. So really interesting to see how these teams play this one. And the Jaguars are getting hot at the right time. They've won 8 of the last 9, whereas the Raging Cajuns dipping a bit, 2-3 straight up in their last 5 after a 10-game winning streak. They've lost at Southern Miss, at Troy, at James Madison. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back at home.
Yeah, Marshall right now 13-4, tied with Southern Miss in that Sun Belt, as you were mentioning. Yeah, and both are 24-6 straight up this season. But yeah, UL Lafayette, Louisiana Raging Cajuns 12-5 in the conference, 22-7 overall. South Alabama only 9-8 in the conference. So on the surface, a little bit of a cheap price, seemingly only in a couple baskets. And we always talk about revenge. Revenge obviously works better with what I think is the better team, and that's Lafayette here. And it's also the home court, as you mentioned, 13-0. But Lafayette won that earlier meeting a month ago in mid-January. 79-76. One thing that does jump out to me in that game, Tony, was the shooting. I mean, lights out. Each team hit over 56% from the field. They each hit 43 and 45% from three. It landed 155, went over the 139. Obviously, we've seen a little bit of a bump higher now from the 139. It opened 143.5, now up to 146.5. So not a lot of value probably remaining with that total. And once again, that is the spotlight game tonight, though, a rare Sun Belt national TV game on ESPN2 at 9 Eastern. By the way, the other national TV game at 7 Eastern is actually Matt Joseph's Richmond Spiders and Matt Joseph's VCU Rams. He'll have to decide. I'm sure he'll probably be at that game at the Siegel Center in Richmond, Virginia. And then we also have one other game on national TV tonight, Tony, at 7 Eastern on ESPNU, and that's Adam Trigger, Siena Saints at Ryder. We got everybody involved from WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com on this Friday card. And Siena right now at Ryder, that goes at 7 Eastern tonight. Opening line on this one, we saw Siena open as Ryder actually open as about a 1.5-point home favorite. It has been bet up to 3 now, so a little bit of money coming in on Ryder. Not too much on the total. Open 135.5, drops to 134.5. So some money definitely coming in on Ryder on this one. Mahia, do you agree with it?
Not necessarily. No, I mean the one key point I think to back Ryder with is that Siena has dropped every rematch it's played where it won the first matchup, and they defeated Ryder in that first game. It was a 68-63 game, and atrocious free throw shooting for the Bronx really cost them in that one. They were 10 for 17. Siena's 2-3 in their last 5. Both of these teams are 11-5 in the MAC. Probably not going to catch Iona, but it's a huge weekend for the Saints because you've got Ryder tonight, then you've got on Sunday the Iona Gale. So if they are going to win the MAC, this is the weekend where they'll have to perform. From that standpoint, I think because this is a huge game, not necessarily on a collision course to finish 2-3 in the MAC standings and play in the conference tournament, but the way the MAC tournament is set up this season, the number 2 seed doesn't have to play until the semifinals, where the 3 seed has to play in the quarters. And then whoever loses this game is probably staring at the 4, depending on what Quinnipiac does. So, huge game. And from that standpoint, I really think that the under is probably the play. They didn't get there to 135 in that first meeting, 68-63. And because this game is so important, it'll slow down the stretch if it's close.
Yeah, and talking about that first game, it was back on January 8th. Siena closed at about a 3.5-point home favorite, won by 5. They were up by 3 at the half. Very low scoring first half, by the way. It was 24-21 at halftime in that January 8th meeting, as you can see on the screen there. And both teams shot low 40%, but what really stood out, once again, I always look at 3-point shooting because I think that's the great random factor in college basketball. And both teams are terrible. 7 for 32 combined, 19 and 27% each. They land at 131 with bad 3-point shooting. So that'd be the concern with the under tonight. It's just that if they shoot anywhere near the norms, that should be better. And Ryder also struggled from the free throw line. They were just 10 for 17, whereas Siena was 20 for 26. So that was the difference in the game, was Siena made 10 more free throw attempts. And they got to the line 9 more times, but made 10 more. So it really was just a shooting disparity there. And once again, I would expect Ryder to shoot better at home. So I think maybe that's one of the reasons we've seen some money come in on Ryder, going from a 1.5 to 3-point favorite. And that's once again on ESPNU tonight at 7 Eastern on Friday. Now, we got a little extra time because Tony Mejia and I are 2 of the most efficient men in all of sports handicapping at WagerTalk.com. And it was also a fin-free zone, so that also helped. But I want to look at a couple of the games on Saturday before we get to a best bet for the show. Also, the Gold Sheet play of the day for Friday night. So we will have some free plays here for Friday in just a moment. But Tony, I'm going to do a top 25 video for Saturday later this evening. Scanning the card, I always try to do the head-to-head matchups. I'll add extra games when I have to, but I do have 3 head-to-head top 25 matchups for Saturday. So I'll throw them out to you. If any of them catch your eye or something you want to chime in, let me know. I'll give you a shout-out on the video if you give me some quality info to include. We'll start with one of the early games. Well, first of all, we'll go backwards, actually. We got the St. Mary's Gonzaga game, which is always a huge West Coast matchup, obviously, on the night card. St. Mary's plays slow, Gonzaga plays fast, so that always catches my attention. The other one that's interesting is mid-afternoon, I believe, is Indiana at Purdue. Indiana stormed the court when they beat Purdue earlier this year. Purdue was number 1, and I heard a lot of pundits say there's several teams that probably should never storm the court just due to the history of their school, and Indiana might be one of them. So that was a big win because they still did it. So let me know your thoughts. By the way, one game I was going to say was just a bit outside from making the cut is number 6 UVA at North Carolina. So that's another interesting one because UNC won by 4, failed to cover as a 6-point favorite again this week. Just been a tremendous money burner after being preseason number 1, not even ranked. But the biggest game of the day goes at 2 o'clock Eastern tomorrow afternoon on Saturday. Number 8 Texas at number 9 Baylor. Any thoughts on those or anything else on that huge Saturday card?
Sure. I mean, the Zags weren't tested last night by San Diego, and if you had that over, consider yourself very lucky. I looked at it. My 5% was on Santa Clara Pepperdine, and that cleared it with about 3 minutes to go. I looked at the San Diego Gonzaga game because you figured that Gonzaga would push tempo at the Kennel, and man, are they big bullies. I mean, they were trying to get to 100 points. There's no way that in the last 2 minutes they should have pushed tempo the way they did, blasting the Toreros like that. It was fortunate because they turned the ball over and San Diego hit, I believe it was 3 straight threes to make the score a little more respectable and to hit the over, which had been juiced up to 167. And I think they finished at 169, 170. So very fortunate if you had the over there. First test, I watched St. Mary's and Gonzaga play. That was the game that the freshman for the Gales really took over, forced overtime, and they won that in that extra session. But Gonzaga controlled the pace early. It's going to be a different feel at the Kennel. I think, I'm not, are you familiar with how they're going to break the tie here if Gonzaga wins? Because they'll have exactly identical conference records.
That's a good question. Yeah, I haven't dug that deep into the tiebreaker, and the common opponents obviously would be a split. And I was going to say too, Tony, when's the last time do you think Gonzaga's had home revenge, same season revenge, hardly at all, and gotten to play at home with it? It's a pretty unique setup.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, to move on to what the other two games you mentioned, Texas Baylor. Baylor's just appeared in the second half of late in games. I'm not sure I'm trusting them. I was on them against Kansas. They dominated the first half, got destroyed in the second half. IU Purdue, a primetime game. I think Gus Johnson's on the call, so that'll be exciting. Another Jackson Davis against Zach Edey matchup. A spot where Purdue is going to look to try and get even. Other matchups I'm looking at tomorrow, Virginia Tech, Duke. I mean, the Hokies have probably played themselves out of the tournament. Duke has played themselves in. They've been hot of late. TCU, Texas Tech is going to be a big one in the Big 12. You mentioned Virginia, North Carolina. That'll be a fun one to watch. The Heels are trying to play themselves in. Barely got a win over Notre Dame the other day, whereas Virginia, stunning loss at Boston College. Michigan State, Iowa was a good one in the Big Ten after the Hawkeyes got beat at Wisconsin. And another game I'm looking at, Auburn, Kentucky, because the Cats have been a little more consistent of late. Got to keep it up, and Auburn will be a good test for them.
Yes, you mentioned two teams I find very interesting real quick before we get to our best bets for Friday. Kentucky, North Carolina. Who do you trust more heading into March Madness if they make the tournament?
I mean, North Carolina is such just a Jekyll and Hyde team, and they really don't shoot the ball well. And when they don't shoot the ball well and don't play through Armando Bacot, they're beatable by anybody, which is crazy considering they returned so many bodies off last year's national champion participant. So, and then as far as Kentucky goes, Sheboy has figured it out of late. They're missing a couple of key players that they'll probably get back. For March Madness. So let me get back to you on that in about 10 days time. But right now the lean would be Kentucky.
Yeah, and we'll also get back to it if they make the tournament. I mean, they're not a shoe in it. You would think North Carolina is
No
going to get the
doubt.
benefit of the doubt being the preseason number 1 and also making the finals last year. Really could have won the finals, but they're doing their darnest not to make the tournament. Although I think they will squeak in. By the way, they're in the low 30s right now in the Ken Palms. I think they were like 31st last week when I checked. That would be like an 8 or 9 seed, right? And that's what they were last year. What were they, an 8 seed? And they made the finals. So theoretically, they're right where they were last year. But when you start number 1, in fall, it's a different feeling. And they've been a tremendous money burner once again. 1 by 4, failed to cover a 6 at Notre Dame earlier this week. One of the worst point spread teams in the country. They have a big home game against Virginia. Won't be in my video tomorrow, but those other games we talked about will be. So be sure to check WagerTalk TV on Saturday for my top 25 college basketball analysis. And also, Tony Mahee and I will both be on Last Call early in the morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. First call, technically, here on WagerTalk TV, talking more about these big games on Saturday. All right, let's get to some actionable info now for Friday night. Great show here, Tony. I thought we covered a lot of games, a lot of content for both Friday and Saturday. On the way out here, give the viewers something they can look for here tonight on Friday in college hoops, something you'd recommend, and also what you got going in the NBA for Friday night at WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, one play up in the NBA. I keep refreshing the injury reports for the teams that played last night to see what I want to do in the Golden State Houston game, and in the Cavs game against the Hawks. That'll be interesting. Tonight's free play is up on my page at wt.buzz/TM, so you can check that out, get the read up. It's Appalachian State in a Sun Belt game between two middling Sun Belt teams. They're at Georgia Southern. I think they'll ruin senior night. They're getting a bucket. And this is a revenge spot for the Mountaineers. Georgia Southern won the first meeting in Boone by, I believe it was a single bucket. And so the spread is 2. I think payback is you know what. And this will be a good game for Appalachian State, who, by the way, had their largest road win since 2005 at Georgia State. So maybe they're playing the best at the right time. Give me Appalachian State +2.
And you're actually getting a little bit of line value, too. That opened up +1, now up to +2. Tony Mejia likes Appalachian State. Let's look at a play of the day from the Gold Sheet. And don't forget to check out thegoldsheet.com each and every day for some actionable info in college hoops. And the play of the day is Grand Canyon at home tonight on Friday. And since Grand Canyon became a D1 program in 2013, the Antelopes have never lost on senior nights. This is a big night for them in this home revenge spot. And it is a revenge spot for Grand Canyon after they blew a 9-point lead in the final minutes at Seattle 2 weeks ago. Grand Canyon's offense leads the WAC in efficiency, effective field goal percentage, and 2-point shooting. So we're getting a good offensive team in a focused senior night home spot with revenge. And this line currently, Grand Canyon open 4.5, by the way. It's up to 6.5 now. So some sharp money also agreeing with the Gold Sheet play of the day, which is Grand Canyon at 9 o'clock Eastern tonight, minus the 6.5. All right, I'm going to look at a free play for Friday night college hoops. Just a quick reminder, the NBA is super strong right now. I'm number 1 ranked in 2023 at WagerTalk.com in pro basketball handicapping, and I've got 2, not 1, but 2 strong NBA best bets for tonight on Friday. We're passing in college hoops. I'm going to give you a game that was just a bit outside from making the cut here as a free play. By the way, free plays on a mere, I think it's 16-5 runs since the end of January. I'm losing count here. Actually, no, 17-5. 17-5 on free plays, which haven't been best bets. And the best bets are still number 1 in the NBA, number 1 and 2 combined in college and pro hoop sides in 2023. And the additional free plays have gone 17-5 over the past few weeks. Let's look at a free over tonight in college hoops. And that's going to be one of the bigger games on the board. The only ranked team playing tonight at 7 Eastern. We're going to take over between Xavier and Seton Hall, over 142, up to 142.5 now in a lot of spots, opened around 141. I agree with this move higher. These teams played back in late December earlier this season. They totaled 143. So, yeah, that landed right around this total. But upon further inspection, both teams were terrible from three-point range. 9 for 37 combined, just around 24% for each of them. And they still landed on 143. And that's also with Seton Hall shooting just 61% from the free throw line. These two teams missed a combined 15 free throws. They went 9 for 37 from 3. And they still totaled 143 points. So they shoot anywhere near their norm from the free throw line and three-point range. This game gets over the total tonight. Take a look at Xavier and Seton Hall over the 142, 142.5. That goes at 7 Eastern tonight on Friday. That's on Fox Sports 1 national TV. And don't forget also, I'll have my college basketball AP top 25 video. 3 head-to-head matchups for Saturday. The 3 biggest games for Saturday previewed free for you here on WagerTalk TV later tonight on Friday. All right, let's recap the best bets for today's show on Friday. Myself, Steve Merrill, likes the over 142, Xavier and Seton Hall. Tony Mejia likes Appalachian State +2. And the Gold Sheet play of the day is Grand Canyon at home with revenge on senior night, minus the 6.5. Don't forget, once again, it's a super strong lineup of both college and pro hoops for this weekend, starting tonight on Friday. Big NBA night for Steve Merrill and Tony Mejia, and then a huge Saturday card in college basketball for all of us at WagerTalk.com. Might not be a bad time to try one of those 3-day all-access passes for just $59 and get Friday, Saturday, and Sunday college and pro hoops and NHL from select cappers as well at WagerTalk.com.
Let me interject.
On behalf of Tony Mejia,
sign off.
Yeah.
5% play will go tomorrow because I like a couple of games on the card. We're 5-1 on the season in max plays, and since I joined Wager Talk in 2020, number 1 in sides, totals, and overall in both college basketball and through all sports on 5% plays. So look to keep that up. We're up to plus 160 on units gained on those, and we will have another one riding tomorrow.
Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to that. It is a huge card, so I'm sure you found a good spot. There's like 100 games this weekend, and once again, you can pick some really good spots. The odds makers have to put numbers on every one of these games. As handicappers and bettors, we don't have to play every game. That's where we find value, where they make those mistakes. And Tony Mejia has isolated a strong 5% best bet for this Saturday, so check that out at WagerTalk.com. Tony, thanks for joining me. Great show. We got a lot of Friday and Saturday coverage here, and don't forget, viewers, hit subscribe and hit that bell for instant alerts when videos like my top 25 and our last call show that Tony and I will be on Saturday morning go live here on WagerTalk TV. Give it a thumbs up, a like, and most importantly, leave us some comments below. Let us know your thoughts on both the Friday and Saturday cards. Let us know where you spot value in your strongest plays for this weekend as well. Thanks to our producer, Robert, back in the studio, and we'll be back on Monday with more college basketball at 2 Eastern. Don't forget NBA tip-off show today on Friday, 4:15 Eastern here on WagerTalk TV. Enjoy the games. Best of luck this weekend.
While the 2022-2023 football season officially ends today on Super Bowl Sunday, for many sports betting fans, college hoops in February and March is one of the most exciting times in sports. Whether you love college hoops or just want to pad your bankroll heading into March Madness, we have the perfect special. Starting today, get the rest of February with any WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper for only $149 each. So to finish off February for as little as $9 per day, head over to your favorite WagerTalk and or Sports Memo handicappers page and grab this limited time offer. This offer includes not only college basketball, but also any NBA, NHL, UFC, soccer, golf, and NASCAR that your favorite WagerTalk and or Sports Memo expert handicaps. No coupon is needed. The earlier you sign up, the more days you get.